right. The meeting is called to order, and everyone has the agenda in advance. We have 4 action items today and 3 important information items. So it's a busy, important day. And I want to ask, because we do have a busy agenda, an important agenda, that every committee member have the right and the opportunity to be able to have input. So please be concise with your remarks, and hopefully information that's presented and requested will be information that we haven't kind of rehashed at other committee meetings, and that today we can accomplish the goals of this committee, which is to be productive and to be proactive in setting policy for the academic affairs, student life, and athletics of the university. So with that, we will have the roll call.
Thank you.
James.
Trustee Baker.
Present.
Trustee Boyd. Trustee Cottle.
Present.
Trustee DeLay.
Present.
Trustee Freeman. Trustee Jacobs.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Present.
Trustee Carboyer.
Here.
Trustee Wright.
Here. All right, thank
General,
you.
sorry.
Quorum is present.
General Uber.
Here.
Sorry.
Trustee James.
Here.
Mr. Massaro.
Here.
We have
Thank you. Quorum is present. All right, next agenda item is approval of the minutes. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes, so is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
All right, and a second?
Second.
Okay, Chris Kabelniak, second. And all of those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion for approval of the minutes carries. So our first action item is approval of new academic degree program, Master of Science in Data Science, and Provost Burns is our presenter.
Right. Whoa. As you recall, for every new program, we ask for your approval twice. Once on the front end before we do all the hard work of developing what THEC requires, which is a very elaborate proposal, and then once immediately before we give it to THEC in its final form. So you've already seen a brief justification for this MS in data science, and in your materials, there's a long large number of pages talking about it. We're really excited about it. If there's ever a no-brainer for a program, this is it. This program is going to allow us to have degree offerings all the way from the bachelor's level through the PhD in computational science in this area of data science, which is one of the hottest fields of employment. We have with us today Nita Brooks, Dr. Nita Brooks, who's the Vice Provost for Academic Programs, who did a lot of the work in putting this together, and also the new program director, Dr. Wu, who is back there as well. So if you have questions that are too hard for me to answer, I will punt them to those folks. But anyway, we're excited about this. The job prospects almost goes without saying that any sort of tech degreed person can find a job pretty easily in Middle Tennessee and around the nation for that matter. So be happy to answer any questions about that. But we're always excited to add any program, but particularly one where the career path is so clear and so lucrative. Yeah, Mr. DeLay.
Are some of these new employers, tech employers, asking you to tailor the curriculum in a specific way?
We did talk to employers as we constructed the proposal, and we'll continue to talk to them. We have an advisory board in data science, and so we want it's a great question because it's such an ever-changing field. We want to make sure that we stay on top of what industry needs. So yeah, we're definitely in contact with those folks.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, and Provost Burns can just stay where he is because our next item is approval of expedited tenure. We have one candidate, as I understand it.
Right, I mentioned Dr. Brooks, who is our current, actually interim vice provost. Unfortunately, I cannot convince her to stay permanently in that job. She's done a great job, and actually now might be, if you're in the mood to give her a round of applause. I think this will be her last meeting.
Right up there.
So thank you, Nita, for everything you've done. We have concluded a national search, which has resulted in the hiring of Amy Sanford, who is currently at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Amy has a really great resume, and I think will do fine work in this role. As you know, to hire people at this level, the national practice is to offer tenure, not technically upon appointment. In our case, it's expedited tenure. And that's really been one of the benefits of this board for us, is instead of having to wait till once a year when TBR would finalize tenure in June, I think it was, we come to you whenever this situation comes up. It really gives the hired person peace of mind. Because when you come into an administrative job, there's always the possibility, if not probability, you're going to annoy people, and including people in your home academic department who would vote for tenure. So it's always good to get these folks tenured as soon as we can. So that's what is before you today.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second for approved tenure of this candidate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And Provost Burns, we have you now presenting approval of the policy revision 301 admissions.
Right, thank you. Yeah, this proposed change is a direct result of a statutory change made by our legislature. And you'll see the only change to our policy is on page 93 of your materials. You'll see the red line there. The legislature said that, well, just as you'll read there, that applicants who want to come to MTSU who hold an associate degree from a regionally accredited institution of higher education, so one of our community colleges, Montlow, Vol State, for example, are not required to submit a high school transcript or a GED certificate, which makes sense. It just makes it a little bit easier on the student. Instead of having to chase down a high school transcript when they've already got an associate's degree, we're saying we're going to trust that Montlow or whoever did their due diligence in making sure you're a high school graduate. So it's a fairly simple change.
All right, motion to
move for
approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, I do have a question on the policy, just very quickly. And it's not related to the change, but reading through the policy, I noted that on page 6 of 13, which is page 92 of the materials at the very top, it talks about applicants for admission as first-time freshmen, 20 years of age or younger, must present enhanced ACT or SAT scores. I know that, at least during the pandemic, there have been universities and colleges that have said there's no need to present those kinds of admissions tests. And I was just wondering if we all have thought about whether or not we want to continue with mandating that requirement for incoming freshmen.
We have had that discussion. In fact, since the pandemic, we've had a more or less automatic waiver of an ACT we typically get for any student who needed that. And we are currently in the process of approval on campus of removing that for our required, admissions or required part of the application. So yes, we will move toward a system really quickly in which ACT or SAT is not required for admission. Now, it will still be required for guaranteed scholarships and still is helpful for placement in courses, but yeah, the short answer is yes.
So there'll
we're
be
moving in that
potential updates to the policy coming
Yes,
forward.
as soon as
Okay.
that on-campus process is done and the president has signed off on it, we'll bring a change in policy to you, make sure that we're all matched up.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of policy revision 301. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, so motion carries. Well, that concludes our action items for today, so we'll begin our information items. And Provost Burns has our first information item, which is performance metrics, and he'll provide us information.
So you all know that we've had plenty of conversation over the years about what metrics would be most helpful to you as you assess the performance of the institution. With your input, this document is what we have come up with. Many of these numbers only change once a year, and so our practice has been to bring this to you at this meeting each year. So I don't really have any further remarks. We'll be glad to answer questions, of course. I would suggest maybe holding the questions on applications and admission until Dr. Sells comes up here in a few minutes. But obviously that's your prerogative, but we're happy to answer any questions you have about the metrics.
So how often should we expect to get this? If they don't change but once a year, we don't need it weekly, but how often will we look at it? Because we may want to add or subtract. It may be a metric that's important today that's not 3
Right.
years from now or vice
We
versa.
currently bring this to you once a year.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we'll bring it as often as you like it, and we'll tweak it as needed, but there's really, we measure enrollment primarily in the fall, so there's not reason to bring it monthly. But graduation rate, retention rates, those are all just calculated once a year. Tuition and debt. So most of them, I would say, on this document only really change annually.
Move for approval.
Oh, it's an information.
Don't need any approval.
That's right, it's already approved.
Mark. Tom Boyd.
Yes, sir.
I think I've got an echo. I apologize, but I just appreciate you bringing this forth. I think this is the first meeting we really, in committee session, have taken a look at it. So I appreciate that. I do point out that the average debt of undergraduates has gone down 2021 from a peak, it looks like, in 20. So that's good news. So again, that's probably something we need to continue to push down if we can. So thank you again for providing the information.
Yes, sir, thank you. And there are several pieces of good news, but I would point out the graduation rate is one that we're really happy about the upward trend in that, and you'll see that down in the academic
Yep.
section.
Excuse me, Chairman Wright.
Yes.
Before we proceed, since we have trustees Freeman and trustees Boyd participating now via Zoom, I need to ask them some questions
Yes.
for the record. Trustee Boyd,
Yes.
because you are participating in this meeting electronically, in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-44-108C3, there are 2 questions that will need to be answered for the record. First, are you able to hear me and the other trustees clearly so you can participate in this meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Second, are there other individuals in the room or outdoors with you? If so, please identify them.
There may be somewhere outdoors with me, but not in the immediate vicinity, so no.
All right. Let the minutes reflect that trustee Boyd is able to hear those present in this room, and no one is present with him in his space. Trustee Freeman,
Yes, sir.
because you are participating in this meeting electronically in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-44-108C3, there are 2 questions that need to be answered for the record. First, are you able to hear me and the other trustees clearly so that you can participate in this meeting?
Yes.
Second, are there other individuals in the room with you? If so, please identify them.
No.
The minutes will reflect that trustee Freeman is able to hear those present in this room and that no one is present in the room with him. Thank you.
Thank you, James. So that's the end of your presentation. So we will move to our next information item, which is enrollment update, and Deb Sales is giving us that information.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk a little bit about some of the areas that do an awful lot of really hard work for the university. And if you don't know Lori Witherow, Dr. Witherow in the back is my lifeline. Wave, Lori. She leads the undergraduate enrollment area for the university, and so she's here in case you guys stump me on anything. I think this was billed by Trustee Wright as an enrollment update. To be clear, enrollment includes not only new freshmen and new transfers, but it includes a whole lot of other categories. Dual enrollment students, who are students in high school taking MTSU courses. It includes international students. It includes the retention and re-enrollment of our students from the previous year. It includes online students. It includes a number of different categories. And because of the limits of my work, I'm going to talk specifically today about new freshmen and new transfers primarily, but I'll try to capture a few other things as we go along the way. This is, I know there have been questions about what does our fall new student enrollment look like. So this is a little chart that'll show you over the course since 2018 how we've been progressing with first-time freshmen, first-time transfers, and new graduate students. We were really pleased to see the trajectory going upwards for our total new students each year, our total headcount, and our FTE. And then we got hit by the pandemic, and we've had to take a breath as we've dealt with that. But in general, the news was quite good as we were moving forward. Now, here's the trick to see if I know how to use this thing or where to point it. Hello? Who wants me to point it where? Can we flip to the next screen if I can't?
I'm glad you're having trouble with that because I never would figure.
I am technologically challenged. Clearly, I don't know how to do this. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about who our new freshmen are. These are the top 10 counties that enrolled this fall with us. And obviously, Middle Tennessee is the meat and potatoes of what we do. And then if you look at the next slide, which I'll let Robert do, thank you. These are the top high schools, and I don't know if you can see that from where you are. Blackman High School being our number 1, Siegel number 2, Oakland, Stewart's Creek. So mostly Rutherford County schools contributing the largest number of students. What's interesting as you look at that, if you go down to number 15, Cane Ridge High School gave us 32 students this fall, new freshmen. That was our 15th highest, which means that our recruiters are out there in high schools across the state trying to gather up 2 or 3 students from individual high schools. So this is not like you can gather in the whole class from just a handful. Our 15th highest producing high school gave us just 32. So the list of where our students come from goes on for several pages because lots and lots of the high schools are giving us 1s and 2s, and so we do some work with that. So that's where our students come from the freshman class, high school and county, but I also want to look at this next slide, if you don't mind. This is out of the THEC Fact Book for 2021. It's really important that we understand some of the demographics of who our students are. So I know there's a lot of conversation about the role of the flagship university in the state, UT Knoxville. But if you look at who our students are, MTSU as compared to Knoxville, according to the THEC Fact Book, UTK is enrolling about 29% Pell-eligible students. We're enrolling 49% Pell-eligible students, Pell-eligible being the lowest income students. We are enrolling 15% of our students as adult students, UT Knoxville 5%. 17.9% of our students are African American versus 5.6% at Knoxville. 6.9% of ours are Hispanic and so on. Part-time, 29% of our students. And that's really important to understand. And I'm going to digress for just a minute with your indulgence, because I think it's really important to understand why that's important. That's important because there is this undeniable connection between the economy and the enrollment of students in higher education. And so if you go back and look, and I've got a little handout for you that I'll take a chance on and hand out and share with you guys. If you look at the years since the Great Recession started, which most people agree was in the 2007, 2008, 2009 time frame. If you look at national enrollment across the country in higher education, you can see sort of the inverse relationship between enrollment in universities and the economy. So typically, as the economy gets worse, more and more students go back to school. They can't find jobs in the economy, and they think maybe we'll retool. Maybe I'll just take this time when I couldn't be working anyway and work on my education. So during the time when the economy starts to slide, enrollment tends to climb. And so for us, our peak enrollment was just after the Great Recession in 2011. That's when we peaked out. After about 2011, most of the economists will tell you that the country began to rebound, and there became more jobs. And so between 2011 and 2015, you begin to see that our enrollment starts to fall off because our students particularly are the ones who are most likely to be deciding not just between should I go to this college or this college, but to be deciding between should I go to this college or should I not go to college at all, and should I be taking a job in the economy or joining the military. Our students are first-generation students in big numbers. So as opposed to UT Knoxville, where students are enrolling from relatively wealthy families with a long family history of having college degrees, our students will often be the first student in their family to get a degree. And so in times of great economic distress, they're really thinking through, maybe I should just be working where it's safe and I know I'll have a paycheck, as opposed to investing in a college degree that's going to cost money out of my pocket, and I don't know what the return's going to be. So we are particularly vulnerable to these changes in the economy, and you can see that as a true line through our numbers over the years. As the economy started to stabilize in 2015, and that's when we got back to pre-recession employment levels, then you see that most of the students who were going to leave us to go back to work had gone, and you begin to see our numbers start to go back up again. So it's really tied in. Why don't you see those numbers in the UT Knoxville numbers? Because their students are sort of insulated. They're coming from families, like I said, that have more money, that have a long history of being students and getting college degrees. And so when the economy goes bad, they're less tempted to step out of higher education and go back and get those jobs. So I just think that's important for us to know. There's a lot of comparisons between the flagship and some of the schools like MTSU. And if you try to make those comparisons without understanding the differences in our students, I think you make some fundamental errors in what it is we're trying to accomplish. So, all right, we'll leave that and go on. If you'll slip to the next slide.
Dr. Sales?
Yes. Do we want to hold questions till we get to the very end?
Now, can we hold it?
Sure.
till the
Thank
end,
you.
Please?
Okay, if we can do that, that would be helpful. I hope you can see this. This is what we call the enrollment funnel. So the way we look at how we build a freshman or transfer class is that we look in the shape of a funnel at the number of applications we can get, the number of admits we can get, and we watch the numbers go through. So we have been watching for many years, since 2015, the number of applications that we have received from freshmen and transfers. In 2015, we received just under 9,000 freshman applications. This year, we received over 11,000 freshman applications. One of the phenomenon that we're watching is that students have been applying to more and more schools. So students that might have applied in the past to 1 or 2 are applying to 3 or 4 or 5 schools. We're also seeing that not only are they making those applications, they're going all the way through to being admitted to 4 or 5 schools, and then attending the orientations at 4 or 5 schools. And then when they get all the way to the end of it, making the decision about where they're going to go to school. So we watch those numbers. We watch how many of the applications that get started actually get completed. Then we look at how many of those get admitted to the university, and of those, how many actually enroll. And that number, that ratio is our yield. And so we're always working on every part of the funnel. Can we get more applications? Can we admit more of those while maintaining our academic standards? And can we convert those once admitted into students that are actually enrolled at the university? We can flip again. So how do we find these prospects? We make more than 600 high school visits, 100 fairs, 100 community college visits. The staff drive in state cars more than the equivalent of more than 3 times around the center of the earth each year as we're out there trying to recruit students. We do the True Blue Tour, which we did not get to do last year because of the pandemic. We do preview days. We just had one this past weekend. And last year, as a part of the pandemic, we had to convert a number of activities to online. And we found that those were popular with some students. And so as we've moved out of the pandemic, we have retained those as well. So students can also get to know the university through a number of online activities that we have. Probably the biggest recruitment activity for us is our campus tour program. And we provide 3 tours per day, and most Saturdays you can take a tour of the university. And what we find is that students who attend a tour here on campus, as Dr. McPhee likes to say on the True Blue Tour, that seals the deal. They often find that once they have walked onto the campus, they feel like this is home, and that's what makes their decision for them. The good news in this little graph that you can see, the blue line is this year. And so all of our tour numbers are up this year. We're feeling good about that. They're coming in droves. The tour experience is more than just the actual tour itself. Once they have come for the tour, they get a personalized note from whoever their tour guide was, thanking them for coming, asking if they have any other questions, and we're able to do some follow-up with those students as well. Next slide, if you don't mind. So we also own Radius, which is a CRM that allows us to do a communications process with students depending on where they're at in the application process. So for instance, those tour students get entered into the CRM. Students who have contacted us and just asked for information about the university, they get entered into the CRM. But we also contract with the ACT Corporation. We don't want them to quit testing entirely yet, because we purchase about 60,000 names each year in batches from ACT that we can enter into the CRM that'll give us a chance to then begin communicating with students who are going to, we think in our judgment, meet our admission standards. So we purchase in these score bands starting at a 19 and going up to 36. We purchase every name of every student in the state of Tennessee and in all 8 regional states that meet those ACT requirements. That is a lot of names, but we are trying very hard not to miss anyone. We also purchased the PSAT scores, which happen a little bit for the younger students in high school. Once we load their names into Radius, it triggers a series of email messages and hard copy mailings that start going out to them. And each of the communication flows, which is what they're called, is personalized to when the student entered the system. So for instance, when we purchase these PSAT scores, those students are a little younger. So they're going to get a different set of messages triggered through the CRM than, say, a senior who's giving us a sense of interest for the first time, and they're going to get a different set of messages from the students that have just been admitted. And if you flip the slide, I don't know how well you can see it. These are examples of a couple of the messages. These are personalized to Trustee Wright, so each one of them is a personal message that says, Deb Sells, we know you just took the PSAT. We're so excited. We'd love to have you come and take a tour at MTSU. Or if they've already done that, they get one that says, Pam Wright, we're so glad that you came for the tour. Now we'd like to see if you can get your application in. Would you like to meet with one of our recruiters and we can help you with that? So those messages go out via email, and then we also have a whole bunch of hard copy mailed things that go out. All right, next slide. So we keep trying to work not only harder, but smarter. So these are a few of the recruitment initiatives that we are working through right now as we continue to try to rebound from this COVID year where we saw the loss in enrollment that we did see. This year, we have awarded this fall more than $13 million in institutionally funded scholarships for our students. We have initiated just a year or two ago the True Blue 100 program, which allows us to begin identifying and recruiting promising students as freshmen in high school. So we work with the counselors to identify students in their high schools across the state who are particularly promising, and then we capture 100 of them and tell them they're the True Blue 100. We just had this preview day last Saturday, and one of the students that was there had his True Blue 100 t-shirt on. So we had contacted him 3 years ago, and now it's time for him to be choosing, and there he was in his shirt. We implemented the program I think you're aware of that's called the MTSU Promise, where we have partnered with 8 of our most close community colleges. In that agreement, we send to them the names and contact information of students who have applied for admission to MTSU who do not meet our standards. And those students get a special letter that says, although you're not ready to join us yet, we'd love for you to start at whatever their service college is. If they're in the Motlow area, we say we'd like you to start at Motlow. And after 2 years, if you finish with a 60 credit hours and a 3.0 GPA, you'll be guaranteed a scholarship to finish your junior and senior year with us. In return, because the community colleges are really anxious to get those referrals from us, in return, they will give us access to begin recruiting their enrolled community college students from day one, so that we are working with students in their first 2 years at the community colleges to prepare them for a transfer at the end of their 60 credit hours. So that's been a really important program for us in building not only the transfer class, which is struggling right now because the community colleges have struggled mightily these past 2 years, but it also has allowed us to build relationships with the community college partners, and that's really invaluable. A couple years ago, we joined the Common Application Program, which is an international organization that allows students to fill out one application that they can then have routed to multiple schools. So instead of having to get and fill out a dozen different applications, they can fill out the Common Application. Their guidance counselor can upload transcripts to the Common Application, and then they can just click off, I want it to go to these schools. It's part of what's driven this phenomenon of them applying to so many more schools. But we have entered into the Common Application Agreement. There are some costs involved with that, and there was some technology we needed to get dealt with so that we could get those efficiently into our process, but that has become another source of applications. And this fall, we will begin, this upcoming fall, a pilot of the Common Applications Direct Admission Program. And what that program does, and it's brand new, is it goes back into the Common App. This is all done through the Common App organization. They will go back through and identify students who filled out the Common App from Tennessee but did not have it sent to us. And they will stratify those based on ACT scores, and they will then outreach to anyone who would have met our admission standards but didn't have their Common App sent. And Common App will send them a message saying, MTSU is holding a space for you. Do you want us to send your admissions material over to them? So it'll be another way of urging students who may not have given us a thought to go ahead and give us a thought. So that'll be something that we're seeing the beginning fruits of, we're hopeful, this upcoming fall. Lori and her staff have a campaign to recapture students who were awarded scholarships to MTSU but went somewhere else. And so we reach out to them and say, if you didn't go somewhere else or at all, or if you went somewhere else and now you're wondering, we've held your scholarship for you. And if you want to come back, we've got it. And so we work through those lists each year to try to encourage them to make sure that they're comfortable with whatever decision they made last year. We have developed the beginning of a Hispanic student recruitment program, and I'll pass these around. We have some translated Spanish language recruitment materials. We have them available in hard copies and online, and we have a program where we are able to bring in groups of students to events on campus that might be of special interest to them. And most recently, that was our Hispanic Cultural Night on campus, which was a big deal for us. We had about 400 students there. And Lori's group brought in a large tour group of Hispanic students from the Nashville area who spent the evening with us, participating in those activities, had a tour of campus, and so on. So we're trying to make sure that we have the opportunity not just to recruit them on the basis of the great programs we have, which we all know about, but also to recruit them on the basis of there's stuff happening here that you will feel comfortable with, that will make you feel at home, that celebrates you. And so that's been, I think, a really good movement for us. We will be continuing to work on expansion of the completely online degree programs. I know Dr. Sluter and his staff are working hard on that. They're hoping to be able to bring up as many as 11 new programs by next fall. They just received some great new recognition from Newsweek, and I don't know, Rick or Andrew, if you want to say anything about that, but our online programs are getting some great press. Andrew, do you want to speak to that? I don't want to steal Rick's thunder, but it seems really important. Because online is going to be a big part of our future going forward, is the ability for students to be able to enroll and complete a program on campus without ever having to set foot on the campus.
So we just learned today from Newsweek magazine that our online efforts were ranked number 40 in the nation among the nation's top online learning schools. This is significant in a couple of levels. It's the first time the magazine has awarded this honor. And second, it really recognizes our effectiveness in delivering to online adult learners, which is the centerpiece of the adult degree completion program. We are the only Tennessee school recognized on the list, and with it came a 5-star rating. So fantastic news.
Excellent.
Kudos to Rick and all of the folks that are working with that. That is really a big part of our future going forward, as is the expansion of our corporate initiatives. I know you're aware of the McGuire's McDonald's corporate initiative, and there will be more of those rolling out as we go forward. And then finally, we'll continue to work with each of our academic colleges on their yield activities. Obviously, when we bring in as many as 7,800 admitted freshmen. Our goal then is to get as many of those actually enrolled as possible. We've admitted as many as we need if we could actually capture 100% of them, which of course is a pipe dream, but we can always do better. And so we'll be working with the colleges to try to increase what they're doing to encourage students who have been admitted to make the final choice to come here to MTSU. Finally, if you flip it one more time, Andrew and our friends in marketing and communication are rolling out in this month a huge blitz campaign, because at this point we're driving students towards the December 1 scholarship deadline. And so there are 175 ad slots going up. Our MTSU in 30 Seconds slot will be going up in November and December. A bunch of digital ads, 61 full-page ads in 18 daily and community newspapers, new signage up at the Nashville airport, and so on. So we understand the importance of making sure that right now we are doing a hard press towards that December 1 deadline, and Andrew and his folks have been so terrific in supporting that. So what is that getting us? Here's the best news of all. So our November 1 numbers, if we can flip that. There we go, our November 1 numbers. So as of November 1, we are looking at having 133% increase in the number of freshmen admitted over November 1 last year at this time. And November 1 last year at this time was not anything that we were particularly proud of. So we're really looking at trying to go back and beat our numbers or meet our numbers from 2020. So we would like to not just beat last year's numbers, but make up the ground that we lost. And we're doing pretty well with that right now. So in 2020, we had admitted, as of November 1, 3,101 freshmen. This year, we've admitted 3,462 freshmen. Our transfers are still just sort of even. We worry a little about the transfers because, again, the community colleges have been hard hit to the tune of double-digit losses. And so since so many of the transfer students that we recruit come out of the community colleges, that's going to be tough for us to overcome. But I have really good transfer recruiters out there doing work. And at the True Blue Tours, we've seen a number of our transfer students participating. And so we'll continue to work those numbers as well. But in general, we're feeling really good about these numbers. The next big benchmark for us will come on December 1 when we see how our scholarship numbers look. So I think that's it, Robert. There shouldn't be another slide, I don't think. There we go. So that's how we're looking right now. I would be happy to try to answer questions, particularly about new freshmen and transfers. If it's about other things, I may have to punt to Rick or others in the group.
Okay, thank you. So we're open for
Dr.
discussion.
Cecil Freeman, so what was the enrollment number for fall of 21? Are we down 6%, or what percent are we down for the fall?
For fall,
Total.
overall, in our head count, we were down 5.54%.
Okay. And my second question to you is, being down 5.54%, 4 or 5%. Historically, African Americans have made up. In 2013, we had about 4,700 students. Last year, we had about 2,800 students. What's that number today?
We have we're hovering at about 18% of our overall enrollment are African American students, which this fall represented 3,783 students. But as a percentage of our enrollment, our numbers for African American students have been very steady through the years.
So in 2020, we had 2,851, is that correct?
2,851 what?
African American students.
Oh, I don't have those numbers in front of me going back that far.
To 2020?
This fall we had 3,783 African American students, which was 18.14% of our total enrollment.
Okay. So, and my final question to you is, we purged some students this semester. What was the makeup of those students?
I think that's a work that Rick has been doing to look at what the makeup of our purged numbers are. I will say on the outset that purging is something we've been looking at for more than a dozen years here on campus, and we have managed through the years to cut the number of students purged by half over time. But Rick, do you have anything you want to share about your looking at the makeup of the students that were purged?
Great. Can you hear me okay? Everybody's seeing
Yes, sir.
So let's do the big picture here. So, and I'm just going to talk in terms of general numbers. 1,300 students were purged. And so about 650 of those students re-enrolled by census. So we're really not talking about 1,300, we're really talking about 650 or so. And I've got a paper that will provide more information down to the detail. So we can really break those down by a lot of ways. And so far, here's what we know. 40% were male, 59% were female, 53% were first gen, 46% were not first gen. These are basically okay students, decent students, 2.89 GPA, and they completed about 112 hours. On the average, and let me say, one thing we do is take a look at those 100, and I should be more precise here. I'm rushing ahead of myself. So we got 650 students. One of the things we can do is take a look and say, if we're interested in completion, let's take a look at the seniors. And so we've done that. There's 150 seniors who are close to graduation. There would be the group most likely we would focus on to take a look and see if we could help. And I could provide a lot of detail, but I won't. The average amount owed by those 150 seniors was $3,656. And we can start to tier those amounts, though. And so when we do that, Trustee Freeman, what we know is that there were 50 students who owed $2,000 or less. And when we start to look at that group is where we start to see how can we use our funds in the best way possible to make the biggest impact with the students most likely to complete. So that's basically what we know right now in terms of those characteristics. I don't have anything beyond that at the moment.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. I would like to, at some, maybe get a meeting with you to get the breakdown of the students. Because I firmly believe that if I was able to do that, I may be able to go out and raise a fund to start limiting the number of students that we purge. I've had to leave a university before because my parents couldn't afford it, and it's not a good feeling. And so, to the extent that you or Dr. McPhee or anybody on the board, I want to start working on a fund so that we can limit the number of students that we purge. And if you can break it down even more in more detail in terms of how many students got purged because of $100 or $200 or $1,000, so we can break that down, because I really want to come up with some kind of solution so that in 10 years we won't be sitting here talking about purging 650 students. I mean, that's a lot of dreams going somewhere differently and that we don't want. And so I want to be a part of that solution, and I'm happy to sit down with anybody on the team to start raising money for that. And me and another business partner in Nashville, we're about to have an activity to raise thousands of dollars to assist purge students in the state of Tennessee. And so I asked that question because I'm really ready to take action.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Freeman. And do you have?
Yeah, last thing I would say is this. So those 50 students who are less than $2,000, if we paid off their debt, and I'm not saying we do that. There's a lot of cases in there, but if we paid off their entire amount, so it'd be $57,000. We'd say 50 students. But I'm not saying we do that. Some of those students are second-degree students. Some would have been with us for their first semester, and there's other characteristics as well. So when I bring you those data, I think what it says is that we have to be very careful in looking to see where our money is best spent so that we can get the biggest return with those students. And of course, we'd love keeping students here.
Yeah, I just want to be a part of the solution. I had to leave a university once because my parents could not afford it. And to the extent that I can be a part of the solution, and we may pay the way for a student who maybe not be the most deserving, but I'd rather err on the side of that than having a student leave the university. And so that's, again, I want to work with the team to come up with a fund to maybe in 10 years, we won't be talking about purging 650 students. Because think about what purging 650 students does to our enrollment. I mean, if we purge 650 students a couple of years, that's 1,300 students that we don't have enrolled in MTSU, while our enrollment is down to 2001 levels. And so, it's and Trustee Boyd knows this, and other board members, it's easier to keep a customer. It's cheaper to keep a customer than to go out and find a new one. And so, while we're out recruiting, bringing new students in, we're kind of doing service by allowing students to go out the back door. And so I want to be a part of that solution. I want to work on it. Put me in the game, somebody. Put me in the game.
Okay, thank you.
Let me also say, if you don't mind, I do want to say that,
Yes, and I think you're going to say what I'm going to ask you to say, and that is, we have developed a program over the years that tried to reduce and provide support. We always can use small funds, but we're not starting from scratch, including the trustees' funds. Is that where
That's
you were
right.
headed?
I have a handout, and I'll pull it out and make sure you all get it at the end of this meeting. But we have raised in a variety of funds, some of which are the trustees' specific purge prevention funds. Other are emergency microgrant funds for students who have an emergency illness or their car breaks down so they can't get to school and those sorts of things. It's not just being purged that prevents students from being able to finish. It's unexpected expenses that come up. We've raised, since we began this effort, more than $500,000 that we have been using to work with those students. And we're grateful particularly to the trustees who have given so generously as a part of that.
Okay.
And Dr. Sales, I'm thinking of much bigger numbers. So
I'm always in
thank
favor
you
of
for that.
more.
Thinking of much bigger numbers. And to your point, it's not just tuition, it's family emergencies, it's car repairs and cars break down and rent and things of that nature. And so, I just want to be able to identify this problem and figure out how we can find a solution for it. Yes, we're not starting from the bottom, but we purged 650 students. That's 650 students too many.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Trustee Freeman. So there was a lot of other information that came from Dr. Sales. Are there other things to be discussed? We've covered the purge students issues.
I
have a few questions.
Very comprehensive.
Very good information.
That was very good.
I have a few questions for Dr. Sells.
Sure.
So one of them about the purge fund, just for the sake of clarity, and because I do report to the to the Student Government Association. How do students, what is the physical process that students go through for accessing these last chance preventative funds?
Okay, let me grab the handout so that we've got that in everybody's hand.
You want me to pass them out?
I think maybe people can just pass them from person to person, and that'll solve that problem. So this lists a number of the emergency aid programs that are available to students. Of course, one of the big ones is one that you guys have been working with during this meeting, and that's our food pantry on campus, which serves a huge number of students each year. The original microgrant program is available to students, and they just apply for it or request it through their academic advisor or dean of their college. So each of the colleges knows their students the best, and so the advisors and the deans within each college have the ability to work directly with the student, identify a need, and then they just let us know in financial aid, and we're able to process that through, usually within 24 to 48 hours. So it's truly an emergency fund.
Dr. Sells, you might also add and give credit to the colleges. A number of colleges have raised funds from their alumni for grants for students who are struggling in their program.
That's right.
Is that correct?
We literally have about a dozen of these microgrant programs, because once we started the first one, many of the colleges and smaller departments, the folks that work with our student teachers developed a fund, because for student teachers, a car breakdown or the inability to buy the right clothes to wear, those sorts of things can be a barrier. So we have those available through the colleges. The Trustees Last Dollar Scholarship, we administer that through financial aid as we come to the purge each year. We identify the students who still have outstanding bills that are in danger of being purged. We look at the seniors first, those closest to graduation, and we look at those that have traditionally fallen under $500, because when we first established the program, we had all agreed that $500 would be the max cap that we put on being able to help in that way. There are a couple of other emergency grants that get managed through the program that lives within the MT One Stop that deals specifically with homeless and foster care students. So we have a big program where we deal with those students who have some tremendous needs. But the two big places for students who are looking for help would be within their colleges for the microgrant or through the One Stop for other kinds of help.
Thank you. I think it's great that the colleges and the advisors are being proactive about identifying these students, but in the possibility that any students would slip through the cracks, is there a process for them applying directly as opposed to being sought out? by the
Right. Typically, they would apply directly through the MT One Stop. So if they haven't been sought out or if they haven't been able to be successful working with their colleges, then very often they will come to the MT One Stop, and we will route them to whoever it is that can provide us the permission. So for instance, we have a student who comes in from Basic and Applied and has a need. We'll typically have one of our MT One Stop people pick up the phone to the dean's office, ask if they'll approve the grant, and if they will, then we're good to go. The other group I forgot to mention that General Huber knows very well is that we have a number of funds available through the Daniels Center that helps specifically our veteran students and military-connected students. And we have just done a bang-up job this year of raising funds there and getting those distributed very quickly.
Dr. Sells,
Yes.
we purged 650 students this year. Can you at some point give me a report on the number of students we've purged over the past 10 years?
I'll talk with Rick about how we pull all that together for you.
But I want to be able to make a financial case for this, because, I mean, 650 students, we're missing out on 650, well, first of all, dreams deferred, but secondly, I mean, that's revenue for the university. That's people in football stands, that's people in our classrooms. Those are, jobs for professors, et cetera, et cetera. And so I want to look at it from a holistic approach, not just, we don't want to purge students, but I want to look at it holistically, overall, the overall financial impact at the university, and also the overall impact of the individual.
Okay.
Is it the opinion of the committee members and the administration that 10 years is possibly too going too far back?
I believe it's entirely going too far back.
I believe
We-
it is, too.
We, as a board, were formed in 2017. If I acquired a business tomorrow, it might be very interesting to know what happened in 1950, but I've got no impact on that, and the institution's vastly different. I believe what we should be looking at is when we became a board, our trends, which we saw that in one of our earlier slides, with the exception of COVID, our enrollment trends are going up, very positive numbers. I think we should look from the time we became a board going forward. A lot of this old information, it might be curious to discuss, but it is not the world in which we live nor the world in which we can impact people.
And I'm thinking in terms of administrative time, and what we pull away from when we go back trying to get information that may not be productive for us any longer.
Hey, Pete, I concur with you. 10 years may be too long. 4 years is good enough. I just want to see what the trends are. And
Sure.
you make a very good point there, and I agree with that. Thank you.
Happy
Sounds
to look
great.
at it.
Chairman?
I also want to point out, and I asked Dr. Sells and Dean Sluter, obviously, we want to make it very clear. We wish we did not have to purge a single student. It is a state policy. It is a THEC policy. And a number of institutions have really ran into some major problems with the state by not following that policy. So if it were up to us, we certainly would give students as much time as necessary to meet those requirements. However, the policy calls for certain periods of time before classes begin that a university must purge those students who have not. And the other point we want to make is, and I think Alan should be given credit for this, we've actually reduced the dollar number for students. What is it, Alan, like $300? Because they were requiring us, if a student owed $100 to purge them, and now it's $200, and we had to take that to THEC to get approval for it. So with all of this in context, we all have the same goal, and that is to retain and attract students who come to our university who need. And again, wish we didn't have to do it. We have to do it. Now we have to find a way, and this discussion is how do we provide support? And if you look at the data, we've gone back as far as 2014?
2012.
2012 in raising money and trying to make an effort. So the more the better. That's obviously any option, any program that allow us to get additional dollars to reduce that number, we are 100% in favor of that.
Thank you. That's really a great reminder for us, so thank you so much.
Chairman Wright,
Yes.
I'd like to express appreciation for everything that's happening in recruitment, tours. There's a lot of activity that probably is not even thought about, recognized over a daily task, and it is a daily task. But the reports you gave today were excellent, fulfilling, progressive, upbeat, and then the emergency funds all above. The last chart is very impressive. So I say congratulations and thank you for all the efforts.
Well done.
I agree. Yes, thank you.
And it's been about 3 years since we've had an update. Next committee meeting, can we have an update on fraternity and sorority?
Oh, sure.
panel?
Yeah, I'll bring Leslie.
That side of life.
You'll be
just-
very impressed with what they're doing.
That's
do
great.
we have fraternity on campus, Dr. Sells? No, it's just.
Hey.
Going off of Trustee Baker's point, I just had a couple questions about some recruitment initiatives that you mentioned. I saw on one of the slides there was a bullet point about a new bus, a new university-sponsored bus tour from high schools to the university.
Right.
And I just wanted to see if you knew off the top of your head which high schools we're partnering with.
I don't know if Lori knows. This is part of what we've been doing while we were on the True Blue Tour this fall. So part of what we do at each of the 14 tour stops is we have a luncheon for guidance counselors. And what we've done at each of those luncheons is, in some cases, suggested to a specific high school that we really want to get more students out of, that we'll pay for a bus and bring them to campus. In other cases where it's one of those where we're grabbing 3 from this school and 4 from this school, is we're asking if they would come together, and if we brought a bus out that would hold 40 students, would there be 4 or 5 or 6 high schools that would all put a student or 2 on the bus and we'd bring them to campus? Dr. McPhee loves to talk about this on the True Blue Tour. He promises that we'll provide the bus, lunch, and usually he says that I will give the teachers a stipend for every student they bring, which I wave him off and say, no, we're not doing that. But I don't know offhand which schools have taken us up on it. I know we've got, I think, 4 underway right now. Lori, is that right? Yeah. So 4 have taken us up on it just in this past 6 weeks that we've been on the tour.
I guess I just wanted to ask if we're making a concerted effort to pay attention to like metro schools, like inner city, low income, and rural high schools, because I think those are the 2 categories of high schools that most could benefit from that bus tour. You know, a lot of students in Rutherford County schools could probably get a ride to MTSU, or might have come to MTSU through some school initiative because we have close partnerships, but we could be getting more students from places like Cane Ridge if we were partnering. I think that's a great initiative.
Right, we haven't been really offering it within Rutherford County because there are so many options for students, but we have done it in some of the metro school areas. That's very routine for us, and as we've been even to some of the out-of-state areas where it's difficult for a student to come up from Atlanta, for instance, we've offered it there as well.
Thank you. The second question that I had was, how is this ACT waiver thing that's on the way affecting the purchase program with the ACT scores? You said you want to, I mean, that makes sure that we don't miss any students in those score bands.
Right.
But with a lot of students being eligible for waivers for ACT and needing that because of pandemic-related hardships, like how are we making sure that we're not missing those students who would meet admission criteria?
We're watching that very carefully, and we're not the only ones watching that. What we have found so far is that most of the schools that have done a waiver of the ACT score for admissions have not waived it for scholarships. So many students are still selecting or choosing to take it. They may not take it quite as many times as they used to, but they are still selecting to take it so that they can meet the qualifications for financial aid. I just read an article the other day talking about students, particularly the really good students, are having a hard time letting go of taking the ACT. It's such a rite of passage for 18-year-olds to do it that they're having a hard time really trusting that they won't be penalized somehow. So within the state of Tennessee, we're still an ACT state. So every student graduating from a high school here in the state of Tennessee has an ACT score because the schools pay for it. So we're just going to watch that pretty carefully. We have the ability to admit students through the committee review process, and that's what we've used this past year since we don't yet have a whole policy change in effect yet. We've brought students without ACT scores through the committee review process and been able to admit them as long as they have great GPAs through that process.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Sales. So we will.
Laurie Witherose got her hand up.
Deb?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes?
Yes.
Is that me?
Yes, it's you, Trustee Boyd.
Thank you, Pam. Just a couple of things. One, on a couple of charts, I noticed that our Hispanic enrollment is 6.9%, I think, and I also noticed that we're now providing enrollment materials in Spanish, which both of those are great. I think I've read where Hispanic population is now the largest minority in Tennessee, and just wondering if there's other plans specifically identified for Hispanic students to increase enrollment. I think, you know, a good target would be equivalent enrollment to African Americans for Hispanics in Tennessee. It might take us a while to get there, but I think it might be an ambitious but good goal. So any other specific strategies to attract Hispanic students?
Yeah, our Hispanic population in the state of Tennessee is a really interesting one to work with recruitment because it probably more than any other minority population has a whole lot of community stuff going on. So we send our recruiters not just to the high schools to recruit Hispanic students, but we go to various community clubs and organizations, the Futuro organization and so on. We work a lot with them. They tend to bring students down in groups for tours. So some of that Hispanic recruitment is not high school based so much as it is other kinds of organizations that we can get a foot in the door. One of the difficulties is that some percentage of our Hispanic high school students are not legally documented in the state of Tennessee, and we are not able to provide them in-state tuition unless they can meet the legal documentation requirements of the state. And so that puts us in the position of having to charge them out-of-state tuition, and that makes it very difficult for that group of students. Of course, that's not all of our Hispanic students, but it is a number of them.
Okay, thank you.
Going off of that question, do we have any language improvement programs in place for, to go along with this push for recruiting Hispanic students? For instance, for students who might be from Oakland High School, for instance, but are Spanish as their first language, and they might not have had all of their schooling in the United States. What support programs do we have in place for those students?
Typically, those students, if they didn't meet our admissions requirements based on their grades from Oakland and/or their test scores, if they presented those, we would take them through the committee review process, and if they were able to articulate to the committee what their special circumstances are and why they think they'd be able to overcome those with our help here at the university, we can admit them through that process, committee review. And then once they got here, they would be involved in many of the same kind of support programs that other students who are struggling for a variety of reasons are able to engage in. We have tutoring available. We have some of the special courses that stretch out a semester's worth of work over 2 semesters and those sorts of things.
Trustee Jaimez, I had a conversation this week with Dr. Summers, who is international, and the English as a second language is a big issue for the graduate school because we get a lot of applications from outside the U.S. and there's big requirements for that. And Dr. Summers has, I don't know if you know this now, but the TEFL program, or the Teaching English as a Foreign Language right now, is outsourced by MTSU, and Dr. Summers has an interest in bringing that on campus, actually, and making it part. So that would be another option for the student whose English as a second language is not as strong or may need to get a little work done. That may be something that may be coming on campus. I may be speaking out of turn, but that's just kind of what I've heard recently. So that'd be a positive thing in that recruitment.
I agree.
Any other comments?
Hey, Dr. Mills, or Dr. Burns, what's the graduation rate for our Hispanic students? 4 and 6 year graduation rates?
That would be a Rick Sluter question. We don't have that available right now. We'll have to check it for you. Rick has given me the thumbs up, so we'll follow up from Dr. Sluter.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sales.
You're very welcome.
And we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the athletics update. Chris Massaro is giving us that information.
Well, I'll be very brief in the interest of time on that. So I've rehearsed in front of a mirror for about 30 minutes last night, so I think I can cut it down to a couple minutes. Just some highlights of the fall, Madam Chairman, that on homecoming Saturday, we got notification that our 2 cross-country teams, men and women, won the Conference USA titles. So those were the first titles that were awarded by CUSA, and we won them both, so that was good. Also on homecoming weekend, we had a celebration of life for Coach Steve Peterson, so we had more than 100 former players come back and for a big celebration. He passed away right at the beginning of COVID, and we've not been able to publicly celebrate his life and his contributions, his enormous contributions to our baseball program and to our individual student athletes. And that was really went well. Last week, we cut the ribbon on a new indoor golf hitting facility at the Grove Country Club out in Arrington. It was a wonderful ceremony. It's a tremendous building that will just help our men's and women's golf team take it to the next level. Monday night, we have a kickoff really of phase 2 in our campaign for our facilities and the celebration of the completion of Phase 1. So we're excited to do that. A lot of people right now are, we're in the national news a little bit about conference affiliation and those kind of opportunities. It's been an ongoing discussion for really over a month right now, and we're hoping that there is some sort of resolution on that. We expect to resolve it this week.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Chris? It's a great update information. Anything else? All right, well, that concludes our agenda. Is there any other business to come before the committee? If not,
5 minutes and we'll go.
all right. Thank you for being here. It was a great meeting, I think. Lots of great input, so thanks to everybody. And the meeting is adjourned.